All right. Here goes nothing. The Untouchable True School Sports Empire proudly presents something the boxing games are missing. Hey, what's going on? It's your boy BT, and I came here to talk some boxing with the thousands of True School Sports subscribers. Now, we'll give you guys a real live because for those of you who saw earlier, for like the five of you that I saw earlier on the live, that last attempt at a live, that feeble attempt at a live was not a proper live. So I wanted to be professional and give you guys a proper live. Now, look, I'm not in my normal setup. I'm not home. I'm at my friend's house right now. I'm just getting it in before the day ends. So, just wanted to keep it going. Wanted to talk to you guys really and properly, like chop it up with you guys about boxing and whatever else. It's my last live until Sunday. I won't be live again until Sunday. Pops is gonna be live Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday for all the fights. So for the fight with um whatchamacallit with what's his name? Nicholas Walters and Joseph Adorno, you know, he'll be live for that. Valdez Wilson, he'll be live for that. Zoo Fundura, he'll be live for that. So until Sunday, he says Mexican boxing says learn Spanish meantime. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Um JK13 was good, champ. Good to see you, man. Just had a fun day today, man. Had a fun day. Made some content earlier in the day. Finally post my Sergey Boychuk interview. So if you guys haven't seen that Sergey Boychuk interview, go check it out, man. It's good stuff. He's got a big fight coming up with Brian Mendoza on the on the Zoo Fundura undercard. So check that out. And then what else is there? What else could I tell you guys? I went to the Panthers game. They lost to the Bruins in a very heartbreaking fashion. So I had a fun day. But again, it's all about boxing. So get your boxing related questions down below. For the last live for me until Sunday, then from Wednesday to Saturday, it's just gonna be all pops all the time. Um, why is Nicholas Walters even coming back? I don't know, man. Nobody really knows that. We can speculate, but nobody really knows why he's back. Personally, I just think he probably was sitting there one day and he thought to himself, you know what could have been if I kept going after the Lomachenko fight. So he's trying to give it the good old college try and see what he can still do in the sport. And yeah. By the way, how is your Spanish? I remember Robert Guerrero dad said Puerto Ricans can't speak Spanish. I understand it. Ya tú sabes poquito, but I gotta practice speaking Spanish. And I'm gonna say it like this, man. Everyone always makes fun of me. They say, "BT, you don't speak Spanish." Listen, there's gonna come a time. I'm not gonna tell nobody. I'm just gonna learn Spanish on my own. I know Spanish already. I understand Spanish perfectly. I'm gonna practice speaking it, and I'm gonna come on one day. I'm just gonna start speaking Spanish the whole live one day when you guys least expect it. And then like in 3, 4, 5 years, I'm gonna be trilingual. I'm gonna know English, Spanish, and Japanese. How about that? You know. But listen, man, look, guys, don't be stingy. There's 7 of you guys here. I only got 1 like. YouTube is trying to get your boy beat. YouTube's trying to keep True School Sports down. YouTube's trying to stop and discourage the untouchable True School Sports empire. So smash that like button, and so YouTube knows that you guys like the content and it pushes it out to other people. It's the least you could do, man. 67 days in a row. I mean, not many channels can do that. So, yeah, man. You know what's interesting? Nicholas Walters speaks Spanish. Nicholas Walters has been living in Panama for years, so it makes sense. But yeah, when I get it down, you guys will see, and then I'll start interviewing these guys in Spanish. I'm gonna start interviewing like the fighters that don't speak English and Spanish. I'm gonna interview Ugas in Spanish. 'Cause every time I see Ugas at these events, when he sees media people that don't know Spanish, he ain't talking to them. Eric says, True School Sports, as I get my life better, I'll be glad to start traveling anyway. Wilder and Jay may be banging in June. Shout out to you, man. As far, yeah, definitely travel. And what I can say is, Wilder and Zhang will be great. It'll be a fun fight. It's a good fight for the division. Two vulnerable guys coming off losses who can punch. Why not? Let me see. Brandon Clark, what's good, champ? Good to see you. Hope all is well. What's up? How's life treating you, man? But man, how good was Nicholas Walters? I didn't really get to watch him like that. I remember he knocked out Donaire and then lost him, and then that's it. He was good, man. I feel like he left a lot to be desired because I feel like there was still more to accomplish after the Lomachenko fight, and he kind of robbed himself of longevity and building a bigger body of work. But Walter's at his best. I mean, he was a big, strong guy at his weight class, can punch with both hands, fun to watch. Nobody really knows how good he could have been, but he was champion and he did be doing there, and he was an exciting fighter to watch. And I remember in 2016, he was one of those guys that when people would talk about the fringe parts of the pound for pound list, people would actually try to sneak his name in there and say, "Oh yeah, Nicholas Walters could be the 10th best pound for pound fighter in the world." So that's what I remember about him from back in the day. Favorite Roman Gonzalez fight and performance, BT? That's a great question. So many of them. Um, I like the Brian Valoria fight. But the Brian Valoria fight to me was a boxing masterpiece. I mean, I never get tired of watching it. Um, I've been very blessed to watch three Roman Gonzalez fights ringside. My favorite one that I seen out of that bunch was definitely his fight against Calio fight, just because people didn't think that Roman Gonzalez could become champion again. The people, boxing in general, the industry and people in general said that he was nothing. He was never going to be anything good again after he got knocked out against Rungvisai, and he came back and he became champion with a sensational performance. Like, he gave the kind of performance you want to give to show the world that, hey, I am still that guy. I am still a great fighter, and it's definitely fights like that have added to the legacy of Roman Gonzalez. Save Charles, BT, True School. Yeah, man, thank you, man. It's gonna be a very fruitful time. Traveling and getting you guys' content, and feel like when I'm not in South Florida, I'm a lot more focused. I don't have the distractions at home, and I don't get tempted to go to Panthers games and things like that. I don't get tempted to go out. Um, Nothing like that. I'm just focused like 10,000% on boxing. No different than a fighter. So I love going out west. Did Walters run out of money? I don't know. I don't know his financial problems or well being. I don't know how that is. Arsen Goulamirian versus Gilberto Ramirez. Good fight, man. I think it's a real tough fight. Gilberto Ramirez is fighting his first real full-fledged cruiserweight in a cruiserweight title fight. So I think he could win. My thing is his last fight against Joe Smith Jr., he was doing a lot of boxing on his toes. He's not a guy that has the reputation for that. And I think it worked against a guy like Joe Smith because Joe Smith Jr. is a fighter that likes to come forward, who is a naturally smaller guy, blown up in weight like he was. Goulamirian, physically stronger than a lot of than Joe Smith Jr. at the weight class, so it's gonna be a different challenge. But looking forward to the fight. That fight's kind of getting lost in the shuffle because of all the stuff going on in boxing this week. Do you got Oscar Valdez winning this weekend? I don't know. I don't know who the favorite is, to be honest. Personally, I think that Liam Wilson is catching Oscar Valdez at a very good time. I think if Oscar was able to win this fight, it would be a very good statement victory for his career because let's face it, Oscar's been in a lot of wars. Scott Quick breaking his jaw, Navarrete. I mean, and the list goes on and on of all the tough fights he's had in his career. I think if the Liam Wilson that showed up against Navarrete shows up, I feel like he should do it. Did you see Rigondeaux is fighting in bare knuckle? I did. I did see that. Been wanting to do a video about it for a while, but just haven't had the time to. Rigondeaux, that's probably one of the most interesting things because Rigondeaux is known as pure boxer. Rigondeaux, though, quiet as kept. Nobody likes to bring this up, but Rigondeaux could really punch. He's got a big left hand, and I feel like that would translate very well to bare knuckle. We'll see how his hands hold up, and if they're brittle, because if there's no padding on the gloves, he's older, there's a lot of wear and tear on the body. It could be very problematic for him. Rocky Oz says, "What up, BT? What are your thoughts on the upcoming Jin Sasaki versus Joe the Jawbreaker?" I don't have an opinion on that fight right now. With Jin Sasaki and Joe, but I will soon. I like Jin Sasaki though. BT, I got Sinisa in a close bout. Sinisa has better angles in and out, better flurries, and better power. Yeah, I would agree with you. I think she's going to win. I don't know if it'll be close, though. I'll be honest with you. Yokovai is a fantastic fighter. I don't want to disrespect Yokovai. I got a lot of respect for what she's done for boxing in her country and for women's boxing, but Yokovai to me is not on the same level as Seniesa Estrada, not in any department. And I think Seniesa beats her quite handily. But I hope it's a good fight, and I hope we get the best fight possible for boxing, not just for women's boxing, but boxing at large. So, yeah, man. Make sure you smash that like button, guys. It's your boy BT, the untouchable True School Sports Empire. Going live again. The last live for me till Sunday, and then Pops is taking over the rest of this week until Sunday. So, um, make use of this time. Can I ask a boxing business question? Who actually pays for the event in person, the fights? Is it the promoters or managers that pay? That's a great question, man. And that's a question that I'm learning a lot about. Funny enough, you know what? I'm gonna tell you guys this. Tonight tonight it was me and some of my friends that I grew up with. We went to the Panthers game tonight. It was a big hockey game. Panthers versus Bruins, two of the best teams in the league. Anyway, while I was at the Panthers game, you guys know who I ran into at the game? I ran into Peter Kahn, one of the best managers in the sport. He was at the Panthers game, and I seen him, and he was there with his son, and I said hello, and we exchanged pleasantries, and I told him I talked to him soon, and yeah, it was real interesting. But shout out to Peter Kahn, the former manager of George Kambosos and the current manager of Xander Zayas. But to answer your question, Falling Star, who actually pays for the events in the purse? Now that all depends on the size of the fight. If there's TV involved, then TV networks are the ones that really have the money. They provide the revenue streams and the exposure and the platforms, and they front that money to the promoters. The promoters then have to break the money and the budget they have for that fight for fighters on the card. Now, if you're on different levels of boxing, sometimes you may be in a situation where you may have to pay for your because they have in certain states, in certain promotions, smaller promotions, not like big promotions, but smaller promotions, when you're on the come up, they have what they call slot fees, a certain amount of money you pay to get on a card, right? Some states have slot fees, some promoters have slot fees, some don't. Sometimes you got to pay for your opponent and your own slot fee. And that's the thing boxing fans don't understand sometimes. People love to criticize and point fingers and say, oh, well, this guy should fight this guy and this guy should fight that guy. They got all these opinions, but what they don't realize is it costs money to invest in a fighter. It costs money to build a fighter. And guess what? If you try to do it the cheap way, if you try to get cheap opponents, guess what? Sometimes they don't show up. They're not professionals. All kinds of things. So it's not as easy as you guys think. Sometimes, there's no one size answer for all this, but what I can say, Falling Star, is if there's TV involved, generally speaking, the promoters should have money because they are bankrolled and backed by a network entity. If you're on a more of a grassroots club show level, as a prospect, then you may be in a position, depending on which state you fight out of, you may be in a position where you have to pay for your own opponent and pay for your own slot fee. Or sometimes you may get lucky and it might be a scenario where you pay for only your slot fee and the opponent pays for his slot fee and they fight each other, right? And a lot of times, like one thing you guys don't understand about boxing at the grassroots level, and I know I'm ranting here, but it's this question is such a great question with so many layers, and it's something that I'm very passionate about. As someone that really has ambition to become a boxing manager one day, it's the questions like these are questions that I unpack quite often in my own head. And so there's really it's really hard to build a fighter. It's the hardest. It's one of the hardest things in the world. And I got respect for all the boxing managers in the world. It's tough. It's a tough, arduous, thankless job. You don't really make a lot of money in the beginning. Like when it comes to this stuff, and that's where a lot of fighters and a lot of managers go wrong. They try to overmanage fighters. They try to do too much, and basically they wind up not doing anything. They try to do too much, and they want to do nothing. So you gotta be willing to. Many times in boxing, when you're on the club show grassroots level, you gotta take pay cuts and you gotta take maybe some losses and be in the red, so that eventually when the time comes you could be in the green. And that's what the ones that have succeeded in boxing, in many cases, if you're not, like an Olympian or, getting that red carpet treatment straight when you turn pro, that's what they've done. So I hope I answered your question. Jesus M, yes, he said, do not forget to interview Raymond Murataya for sure. I won't. As a manager, how would you push a fighter? Going pro at 25 would say 10 amateur fights. It all depends. I can't give you a one size fits all answer. The only way I could answer that kind of question is I would have to know what kind of sparring that fighter's got, what kind of gym experience do they have, and then based upon that, I'll make my decision about okay, I start looking at that, and then I start breaking down his style and seeing what needs to be done. I would start getting him in camps around fighters that are better than him, that can kick his ass in sparring and get him, sharper. And then I have to be very patient because if you have 10 amateur fights, that's like nothing. Honestly, it's nothing. So it'd be a big, steep learning curve. Am I feeding them to the wolves right away? It all depends on the fighters because you got to understand every fighter has different ambitions. Some fighters, they want to be champion. Some fighters are only in it for the money, so they just take whatever they can get. It all depends on the fighter. Like, there's no one-size-fits-all answer. I'm glad Boots got that lawsuit behind us so we can see him dominate at 147. Will we see it? Will we see him dominate at 147? I mean, if he does dominate at 47, like, what does that really prove at this point? I mean, I like Boots. I want to see him fight, but I'm just saying, like, get active, build your brand, but, like, what does that prove at this point? We already know Boots is talented. We already know that he seems to be more talented than the rest of the guys at 47. So, listen, if he's gonna stay at 47, there's two names I want to see him fight: Giovanni Santillan, Jin Sasaki. That's me personally. That's what I want to see him do. But I'm sure they got other plans in mind. Of course, Rafael Espinoza just beat a gold medalist for the championship. Yeah, but Rafael Espinoza is a fighter that was a professional for 10 years. Rafael Espinoza is a fighter that has a lot of gym experience sparring in Mexico, which if you can spar in Mexico and last for a long time, you generally tend to, have that certain grit about you. So Rafael Espinoza, yeah, he beat a gold medalist, but he beat a gold medalist because he was a very well-experienced fighter in the gym, and he had been a professional for 10 years. So make of that what you will. I'm really excited for Emmanuel Rodriguez's next fight in Japan. I don't know nothing about his opponent, but I have a feeling he's really good. I don't know a whole lot about his opponent either. I have to go sit down and actually like do my homework, and there's like a whole bunch of fights coming up. I got to sit down and like watch guys fight. But yeah, I'm looking forward to just seeing Emmanuel Rodriguez back in the ring doing his thing, and showing the boxing world that he's still one of the top bantamweights in the world. You know. Christopher says that's great. Thank you, man. I'm trying, man. I'm trying to give you guys the best insight possible. So if you ask me a question, I may not know the answer. I may know the answer. I may not know the fighter. I may know the fighter, but I'm gonna always do my best to give you guys the best information and insight I can possibly give. So yeah, man. But get your questions in, guys. Shout out to everybody who's here rocking with me late at night. Keeping the streak going, keeping the 90 days of boxing going. I'm really excited, to go to Arizona and get this content for you guys. I feel like I'm in such a blessed part of my life. You go through so many years where shit doesn't go your way, and you can't really function in ways that you want to, just to get to years like this. And so I'm just so grateful. Like that's the word of the year for me is gratitude. We're just being grateful in every and all circumstances. Thank God for everything. By the way, guys, I don't know if any of you guys are subscribed to Zapata, Zapata, Zapata Boxing brand, or Zapata, I think that's the channel's name, Zapata Boxing. But I was on his channel recently. He was a guy that used to watch me a lot back in the day and comment, and he reached out to me for like a interview. So I was delighted to go on his channel, and I gave him an interview. He interviewed me, which is cool. It was cool to actually have somebody interview me and not have to think too much. And he just dropped it tonight, so go check it out. I'll probably start chopping some things up and clipping it and putting on the channel. But go check it out. It's on his channel. It just dropped tonight, so yeah, go check that out. Go give him a like. Which fight are you going to again? I'm going to more than one. I'm going to Sinisa Estrada Yokovai and Oscar Valdez, Liam Wilson in Arizona Friday. Saturday night, I'll be in Vegas for Zoo Fundura. The following Saturday, I'll be in Vegas for Richard Hitchens versus Gustavo Lemos, as well as Diego Pacheco on that card. And then I will come back to Florida on April the 10th to watch Angelo Leo continue to prove himself as one of the best featherweights in the world as he takes on one of a very, formidable, respectable Eduardo Baez. So what is that, like 4 fights in roughly, 2 weeks? Something like that. 4 cards in 2 weeks. So pretty good run. Which U.S. amateur have you seen and know is going to the Olympics and have likes to win the gold? Jamal Harvey, for sure. Jamal Harvey on that team, hands down, is Jamal Harvey. Jamal Harvey is, I think, the standout fighter for the U.S. team. He won a gold medal in the Pan American Games. He won a gold medal in the AIBA. So if he wins the gold medal in the Olympics, he's triple crown gold medalist. And then he should be able to parlay that into a very fruitful start to his pro career. But you got other good fighters like my man Christopher wants to know what I think about Omari Jones from Orlando. And I like Omari Jones. I've interviewed Omari Jones, good fighter. I think he's got a chance to medal. He's medaled in the AIBA World Championship. So if you can medal in the AIBA World Championships, you got a great chance to medal in the Olympics. So good fighters, man. But I would say if I had to bet my life on one person on the USA winning a gold medal, I would go with Jamal Harvey. That'd be the name. That'd be the route I'd go to. No, there's no JK13. There's no event on a Sunday. It's just Friday is going to be Valdez, Liam Wilson. Saturday is going to be Fundora versus Zoo. The following week, so I'll be in Vegas for a whole week. So from the 30th to the 6th, I'll be in Vegas. The 6th of April is going to be that Hitchens card that I'm telling you about. So in between all that, I'll be doing fight week, and I'll be trying to go to some gyms as well when I'm in Vegas. And then once the Vegas run is over, we come back to Florida for Angelo Leo's fight. So very, very action-packed time here on True School Sport. That's why I'm kind of just chilling, drop my little videos here and there, because I know everything that I haven't been doing, or like I haven't been doing as much as I think I should be doing. But I know I'm gonna make up. I'm gonna more than make up for that when I get out west. Believe you me, So yeah, Pro Box is on Wednesday. Pro Box is on Wednesday. This Wednesday is Nicholas Walters versus Joseph Adorno. 2 Wednesdays from now, it'll be Angelo Leo versus Eduardo Baez. So yeah, man, a lot of boxing going on. Our sport never stops, man. It's the only sport with no off season. So, and we're just here making it do what it do. But get your questions in, guys. I'm gonna be here for a whole hour. So right now we're 23 minutes in. When it gets to 1 solid hour, I'm gonna get up on out of here. But I told you guys, I don't cheat you. I felt like when I did that live at the ice cream place, I was bullshitting. So we're not gonna bullshit. We're gonna be professional and give you guys what y'all came for. My phone might die though, so if it dies before the hour mark, that's what it is. But that guy Vosdik, or however they spell his name, won't prove nothing for Benavidez if he can beat him. I don't think so. I think Vosdik is a good fighter, man. I think that's disrespectful, in my opinion, because Vosdik is a former lineal champion. Got a deep amateur background. Obviously, he's 36. He's not, as young as he used to be, but he's been active. He's been fighting, so you can't say he was coming off this big layoff. A lot of people like to say he's coming off a layoff, but he had like 2 or 3 fights last year. So the ring rust is off. He's got a lot of experience. He's been in the mountaintop of the division, and his only loss is to Artur Beterbiev. So I don't see what the problem is. I don't see why everybody's just so quick to downplay Alexander Gvozdyk, the nail. He's a fantastic fighter. Walter's opponent is Joseph Adorno. Adorno's fought Jermaine Ortiz. He's fought, Elvis Rodriguez. He's come up short in most of his big fights, but he's a solid opponent. I mean, for a guy like Walters, who hasn't really been anywhere near the elite level of boxing for 8 years, about 7, 8 years, this is a big opponent for him. So I like that fight. Have you ever had a chance to interview Floyd Mayweather, TBE? No, I haven't. I interviewed his dad, and I've interviewed Jeff, and I met Roger once before he passed away. R.I.P. Roger. Had a beautiful, great conversation with Roger. I was 22 years old. I was 22 years old at the time, and I was going to a show. I went to an amateur show in Vegas. My first time I ever went to Vegas, and I remember Roger was so cool, man. And Roger said I knew about boxing, so that was pretty cool, I'll never forget. I met Roger once, but it was a special day. Probably one of the top 15 coolest experiences I had in boxing was meeting Roger Mayweather because to me, he was like a larger than life character. You know, you grew up watching 24/7. Now, obviously, you're gonna have a certain level of respect for a guy like Roger Mayweather and his boxing acumen and his life in the sport and who he fought and who he was. You know, so R.I.P. to the real Black Mamba, Roger Mayweather. Never gone but never forgotten. I'll tell you that much. Yeah, he did. He fought Michelle Rivera. He beat him. Michelle Rivera beat him. Where is everybody watching from? What city, what state, what continent are you guys watching from? You know, I'm here in South Florida. Yeah, but he ain't fought no top 175 pounder in a few years. And yes, he was champion, but he only beat the great Adonis Stevens. I know, but you know he's had a weird career path, Vozick, because he was at the top of the division. He could have fought anybody, but then he retired because Better BF beat the brakes off of him. And that's what Better BF does to people. He demoralizes you. He makes you think about getting a regular job. He makes you thinking about getting your what is it called? Your CDL license to go drive trucks. I mean, that's what he does. He makes you want to become a lawyer, a mortgage broker, anything but a boxer. So I'm not gonna fault him. Tex B Young says Texas. Yeah, I'm from Texas. Shout out to the Lone Star State, man. It's been a couple years since I've been to the Lone Star State, but I still consider that one of my homes. I love Texas. Why did you start making NBA videos instead of boxing? Were you a fan of NBA before boxing? I would actually say, yeah, I was a fan of basketball before boxing. I mean, when I was when I was 6 years old, my dad put me in front of the TV and we watched Bernard Hopkins versus Felix Trinidad. That was the first fight I ever watched. As a kid, for the most part, I liked other sports besides boxing. But as I got older, I really just started growing closer and closer to boxing. And I started making videos here on YouTube. What year was it? I think the first time I ever got in front of a camera was like, and guys, my bad if my voice sounds weird. I went to the Panthers game. I was screaming a lot, so my voice is all hoarse right now. So that's why my voice sounds a bit weird if it does. But I think the first time I made a YouTube video ever, I was like 17, 20, I'm going to say like 2012. So at that time, I was just a different person. Life was just different, you know? I was a big basketball fan at that time, huge. Now I really don't give a damn about basketball. Like I mean I'm a casual. Like I know who's doing good in the NBA, but I don't watch games or nothing like that. I just know who's doing good. I keep track of my Hornets who are trash. You know I know how the Heat are doing because I live here in South Florida. But I don't know, man. Like boxing, it just became one of those things where like I was covering the NBA, and then I wasn't enjoying it, right? So then after a while, I was like, you know what? I gotta change something. And at the time, I had started making videos, you know, like kind of like these videos where I talk about boxing, and I was really enjoying them. And then so I got a chance to cover some boxing locally. I covered a Shannon Briggs fight, 2015. He fought Michael Marone. It was a big. The fight was a straight cherry pick, but it was an event that had like they had like a heavyweight reunion. So like 20 something heavyweight champions all descended upon ex heavyweight champions all descended upon South Florida for that weekend. So like Larry Holmes was there, Michael Moore, the Spinks brothers, Pinklin Thomas, the Klitschko brothers. I mean, just you name it. They were Lennox Lewis, you know, Riddick Bowe, Holyfield, and so that was my introduction to covering the sport. And I just never looked back. That was September 2015. So we're talking almost 10 years ago now, which is crazy to think because that was like seems like yesterday, but. From there, I started going to gyms locally, like the Heavyweight Factory, Davy Powell, what other gyms? Fifth Street Gym. I mean, you name it. Like I started going to every gym in the Tri-County area of South Florida, building my rapport, building my reputation, building my channel up, doing that, and you know, we're here. BT, oh, Eric Bell, Nebraska. Okay, shout out to you. BT, who does Arbel have to fight for the WBO belt? And if it's never out, do you think he can win? I don't know who he's got to fight because I don't know if politics are on his side. I think guys like our Bell, and I don't know if he's done this already, but I think guys like him, they need to go to all these conventions. A lot of times, fighters like Albert Bell get put behind the eight ball because number one, they're good. Number two, there's no money in fighting them. And number three, they don't really like go to the conventions and shake hands and kiss babies and go through the politics of boxing. And they get the short end of the stick because they don't do that. Now, I don't know his situation, but if he hasn't done that, I'd highly advise him to go do that. And could he beat Navarrete? I would go with I'd probably say Navarrete beats him, but that's a good fight. Would you ever do your own 24/7 production of fight camps if the opportunity arose, or are you more interested in managing fighters? I would love to do that. Obviously, like I feel like God has blessed me with $1 million mouthpiece, and I feel like I can talk into a camera better than anybody in the world when it comes to boxing. And I'm just very confident in myself. When you do 7,000 plus videos over the course of damn over a decade now, you should have some confidence, and I have it. So, yeah, I'd love to. Obviously, I'm not the best when it comes to production, so I would need to have people that know how to produce those kind of things. I know fighters that I could go to camp with, like I know the Angelo Leos, the Philip Hergovich, the Lorenzo Medina, them kind of guys. Those are like I can call them right now. Those are my friends. So for sure. But as far as managing fighters, between the two of the options you listed, I would definitely say I'm definitely more interested in managing fighters for sure. Let's go, champ. That dude really followed Klitschko all the way to the Ukraine. He did. That was impressive. He was a master troll. He set the bar high for the trolls. You say that now, but whenever I to become a shot, you won't be saying that for long. He's literally Miguel Berchelt. He doesn't have stop, Hyro. Just say you hate Mexican top rank fighters, Hyro, and just leave it at that. Just say that, champ. Just say that. You don't gotta. I'm not gonna argue with you. I don't know if you can tell how my voice ain't all the way there. I screamed my lungs out at the Panthers game, and we lost again. So, not really too happy about our recent run of play. We should have beat Boston today, and we beat ourselves. So I'm still upset about that. The younger, more immature me wouldn't even go live because I'd be so pissed off about the hockey game that I'm not even gonna go live for boxing, which it's how I feed myself. But that's how I used to be. So I'm a little distraught about that, but nonetheless, we're still professional. We're still here. I'm not arguing with you, Hyro, about you hating on Navarrete. You have always hated Navarrete, always, for years. But make sure y'all smash that like button. We're 32 minutes in, man. 28 more minutes and then I'm out of here. Hit that like button, subscribe, super chat. We here talking that boxing. Who are my least favorite boxing commentators? I'm not really as I'm getting older, man, I'm not really trying to put people down. I want to lift people up. I don't want to put them down. I want to lift them up. I would say to answer your question, if I had to name one person that I just don't like hearing talk at all, I'll go with Chris Mannix. I can't stand listening to Chris Mannix talk. Chris Mannix, Sergio Mora, just DAZN, USA DAZN. I love Top Rank. Rafael Espinosa, like you said, you can't assume you don't know what I've been watching, like you said. Okay. Touche, Harold. Touche, my friend. Of course, I don't know what you've been watching, but I know what you can't be. I know what you haven't been watching because they haven't had any cards until this weekend, which is PBC. PBC hasn't had a card in God knows how long. Can you tell us about the 5 versus 5 Queensberry versus Matchroom? I'm not really sure what it is. Will it be similar to the World Boxing Super Series? No. All it is a concept that Turkey Al-Sheikh came up with where he would match 5 Frank Warren fighters against 5 Eddie Hearn fighters. So there's no tournament involved. They're just gonna match. They're just gonna match fighters up from their promotional companies. That's all it is. Because you gotta remember, Turkey Al-Sheikh, he's cool with these guys over there. They work in conjunction with him. So this is an idea that he came up on his own, creativity. That's all it is. Chris, man, yeah, a lot of people. I know I'm not alone on that one. I know a lot of people aren't too fond of Chris Mannix and Sergio Mora. And look, I'm not trying to put them down. Like they work hard. They cover the sport. So God bless them. But I'm not really too fond of listening to them speak. Just being honest. I think a prime Larry Holmes would have beat Tyson after watching how greats in Tyson's era beat him. I mean, I would second that. There's a lot of. I mean, I'm not. Mike Tyson's a great fighter. Listen. I want to get one thing clear. I feel like it's been very popular amongst boxing content creators over the years. Um, to say that Mike Tyson was overrated and he was a hype job because they want to have a different opinion. And I feel like I went through that at one point where I said, you know what, Mike Tyson, he's not what they make him out to be. He's a little overrated, right? And he might still be a little overrated, but people like to make it sound like Mike Tyson wasn't no great fighter. And if you're one of these people out here that are trying to spin that narrative that Mike Tyson wasn't no great fighter, you don't know fucking shit about boxing. That's a fact. If you are really doing that, you don't know anything about. Mike Tyson was the youngest undisputed champion in the history of heavyweight division. Mike Tyson literally, he fought Tony Tubbs, beat the shit out of him in 2 rounds. That same Tony Tubbs fought Riddick Bowe, a couple years later, and Riddick Bowe went life and death with him. Damn near lost to him. So don't give me that about Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson he didn't just get that hype on accident. Yeah, Don King gave it to the world large with a great mouthpiece and promoted Mike Tyson. But Mike Tyson was hyped up because Mike Tyson delivered what the people wanted to see. And one thing about greatness in life, when it comes to anything, you don't gotta over explain it too much. People won't understand when they're in the presence of greatness. They understand when they're around someone that is of high caliber in whatever it is they're doing. And that's just not boxing. That could be other sports. That could be a painter when he's painting. It could be anything. Who is the next Ukraine fighter you've seen that has the potential to go places in boxing? The next Ukraine fighter? I mean, I can't think of any prospects off the top, but I like Sergey Bohachuk. I think if he beats Brian Mendoza, he'll be in prime position to go places. So we'll go with him. People say Mike Tyson was overrated because the guys that he beat on his resume, like Tony Tubbs and a lot of the guys that were really good wins at that time, they're not like big all-time great names. So they say, oh, Mike Tyson never beat nobody that was great in their prime, right? My thing is Mike Tyson was an active champion. He defended the belt. He was good for the sport. I mean, come on, man. How can you sit there and say Mike Tyson wasn't the truth? He says, you're right, BT. That's how I felt at the Canelo Saunders fight. That you were in the presence of greatness? I was in the presence of a great event. I wouldn't say I didn't think I was in the presence of greatness, to be honest with you. Canelo's a very good fighter, but I got mixed feelings. I think there's great things about him, but I don't think he's as great as people say he is. And it gets proven time and time again as time goes on. But bless him. He's gotten a lot for himself in his life with boxing and making money, coming from selling popsicles and shit with his family to becoming a multimillionaire. So I can't ever hate on someone that's come far along his life as a Canelo has. I just when it came time to fight those real killers, real hitters, he never had a performance against somebody that I thought was like a great fighter. Like he never, like when he fought the Floyds and the Bivols and the Golovkins. I'll tell you this. If there was one night Canelo was ever really great, I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna tell you like this, Chris, and to all the Canelo fanboys in the world. The one time I thought Canelo Alvarez was truly a great fighter, that he really showed me a little bit of greatness, was the second Golovkin fight. Because in the first Golovkin fight, Golovkin was bossing around with that jab, keeping him, on the end of it, and I thought he outboxed him pretty easily in the first fight. But the second fight, I saw a hungry Canelo. I saw a guy that stepped to him. I saw a guy that was fighting in the pocket. I saw a guy that was willing to go through every and anything to be great that night. So apart from that fight, it's smoke and mirrors. But that night, I saw some greatness from Canelo, and I'll give him that much. I'm not a hater. I watched Tyson from ringside at his best, and I don't take away his accomplishments, even as the youngest heavyweight champion in history. But he got beat by Lewis, Holyfield, and even a C-level Buster Douglas. I mean, look, you can nitpick anybody's resume, man. I don't hold Lennox Lewis against Tyson. And even with the Holyfield fights, I know he was a big favorite in the Holyfield fights, and he lost those fights. But to me, like the Mike Tyson that everyone has in their mind, that Don King did such a great job of making you guys remember in their mind, that guy pretty much died after he went to prison. When post-prison Mike Tyson is not the same as pre-prison Kevin Rooney trained, late 80s, early 90s, very early 90s Mike Tyson. It's not the same thing. So you got to look at almost pre-prison Tyson and post-prison Tyson as two different careers, and that's what I do. I don't do that. I look at it that way. I don't try to group it all in as the same thing because it's not. I get the feeling Fury will lose, BT. Do you feel the same way? No, I don't. Because when it comes to Tyson Fury and fights that actually matter, fights that are big, fights that are momentous occasions in boxing history, those are the fights where Tyson Fury always rise to the occasion. It's never those fights I worry about him, and it's always these fights against like Otto Wallin and Ngannou, the fights where mentally he's not there, where he's not mentally up for it. Those are the ones I worry about. But when it comes to, like, these fights that really meant something, Klitschko, the Wilder fights, I'm never worried for a second about Tyson. Who's the best boxer you've met? What do you mean with like as far as personality, or like as far as like accomplishments and stature? Like, what do you mean by that? Because I met a lot of great fighters, and I'll tell you this: one of the best fighters I met recently was Michael Nunn. Such a nice guy, and one of my favorite fighters of all time. And he actually gave me his number. I gotta call him soon, man. I gotta call Michael Nunn soon. Get him on the channel, because Michael Nunn was a big time favorite of mine. You're probably saying that when Tyson was Muslim, and I'm not touching that, Hiro. I'm not touching that comment. On a real note, is the criticism fair for fighters that go up in weight in classes and lose? I feel like people pick and choose when they say someone there to be great. Yeah, people do pick and choose. I think when the criticism for Canelo losing to Bivol is extremely justified. Extremely. People like to say he dared to be great, but I don't agree with that, because he didn't want to fight Bivol because he thought Bivol was great. He wanted to fight Bivol because that deal included the third Golovkin fight, which is a big money maker. And Bivol wasn't looking so good in the fights before that. Like, Bivol fought Umar Salamov, looked like dog shit. Like, so my thing is, it's all about context. People do, but most boxing fans generally pick and choose when they say someone dare to be great. Like, I'll say it like this: Demetrius Andrade, one of my favorite fighters in boxing, even though I don't like his business decisions and I think his career has been ran poorly. But, bro, he did not dare to be great to fight Dave Benavidez. He was a fool, a straight fool, and he got exposed when he fought him for going up in the weight. He should have stayed at 160 and defended his title and used that bargaining chip to parlay his career into a better position. But he didn't do that. So that's why he got his ass kicked, and he'll probably fight Morrell. And I don't want to see it, but he'll probably get his ass kicked in that fight too. Can we just acknowledge that Tyson had a bunch of fake fights? I love Tyson, but his career is tarnished when you open your eyes. It's unfortunate he went to prison. Well, anybody who's done any semblance of research knows the Peter McNeely fight was bullshit. I mean, Peter McNeely... There's a video here on YouTube of Peter McNeely and his coach and this matchmaker guy fixing the damn fight. They talked about it at length. So, yeah, Tyson had some stiffs. He had some pretend fights. But guess what? A lot of these guys at the top level, let's be real, guys. Boxing is a very fickle game. Boxing is a very, very dirty sport at the top. I mean, where there's money involved, status, the adoration of millions, generation of wealth in some cases at stake. Don't put it past boxing to do anything shambolic. I feel like a lot of our favorite fighters of yesteryear were in fake-ass fights. The Pacquiaos, the Floyds, the Canelos, of course. Anybody who's made a lot of money in boxing. Julio Cesar Chavez, Sugar Ray, everyone. And I don't, look, do they fix fights in boxing? Yes, they do. But most of the time when boxing is quote unquote fixed, I don't think they fix it in terms of they pay it. Like I think they try to manipulate the outcome as much as possible. So they get a guy who can't win the fight under any circumstances because he, first of all, he's not competent enough. He doesn't have the skills, and then even if he fights out of his skin, the politics won't allow him to get a decision. So he has to literally get a knockout, and he won't get a knockout. So, um, it is what it is. Like I used to get really angry about how boxing was, and then I just kind of accepted it for what it was, and it's allowed me to have more peace of mind and just operate, see things how they are. BT, I always hear you talk about Jinzaki. How about the man who stopped him, Andy Hiroka? I like Andy Hiroka. I think Andy Hiroka is a damn good fighter, but Ohashi Promotions is moving him slow. They won't give him a step-up fight. He's been fighting nothing but cans his last couple of fights. So, I like Andy Hiroka, and I want to see Andy Hiroka push onwards and upwards in the 140 division, but Ohashi Promotions has got training wheels on him, so that's why I don't talk about him like that. Jin Suzuki's been matched tougher. Jin Suzuki continues to show his level in the sport and be someone that could develop into the first ever Japanese welterweight champion in history. So that's why he even though he lost to Andy Hiroka, he gets talked about more because he's not being babied and he's being put in more exciting fights than a guy like Andy Hiroka. And I like Andy Hiroka, but that's just the truth. Good fighter. What do you think about Canelo and that draw a long time ago with a guy named Jorge Juarez, a guy that Munguia also knocked out? Canelo was a kid. It'd be easy for me to sit here and just say he's a bum and all that, and I'd want to say that, but I won't put too much stock into it because Canelo Alvarez, like Jaime Munguia and any other fighter in the world, is entitled to progress and regress. So I don't really think much of it. But at the same time, I'll tell you this. Terrence Crawford, Roman Gonzalez didn't draw no, what was the guy's record? 3-6? Roman Gonzalez and Terrence Crawford would never draw no 3-6 guy. Does Inoue have the potential to pass Salvador Sanchez to become the best featherweight ever, BT? He has to actually move to featherweight to do that. And he's got to beat some. I mean, I know he has the accomplishments, and on paper it sounds good. He got to beat some better fighters, man. I don't think Inoue, and people may not like this, but this is the God's honest truth. I'm not no dick rider. I'm not biased. Like, Inoue is a great fighter. He's had some great performances, but he's never beaten no fighters like no iconic fighters. None. He ain't beating like no Wilfredo Gomez. He ain't beat them kind of guys. Beat some good fighters. Beats the Donairs, beats the full ones. Good fighters, fantastic fighters. But I don't know. I just feel like he's gotta maybe beat some guys at a higher caliber, in my opinion. And I think those guys are at 126. So I'm looking forward to him getting up there. I'm not trying to downplay him, but I'm just telling y'all that if we start comparing Inoue to the Salvador Sanchez of the world, like this isn't Inoue versus Crawford. This isn't Inoue against anybody fighting now. You're talking about you talking about basically, could Inoue be better than the best Mexican fighter that's ever existed, and that's Salvador Sanchez, and he's got some work to do. Are you being real? I thought you're the one who sticks up for Inoue and says his resume is good. I've always said his resume is good. But the context of my answer was about Salvador Sanchez. So once you start talking about Salvador Sanchez, once you mention Salvador Sanchez, the whole conversation has to change because you're talking about someone that's all-time great. You're talking about someone that literally he didn't just beat no great fighters. He knocked them the hell out. And I just think Inoue I don't think it's crazy to say that Inoue has work to do. Yeah, he did great things. He beat Raush Taguchi. I give him credit. I've saying Inoue's praises more than any American content creator on this damn channel in this damn community. Challenge you to find one person who has been singing Inoue's praises longer than me. There hasn't been. But once you start, that's what I'm saying. You guys gotta be careful. Boxing fans gotta be careful when they get caught up in the moment and they start comparing guys that they're fans of to all-time greats, because once they're being compared to all-time greats, guess what I got to do? I got to hold on to the all-time great Salvador Sanchez standard. And right now, he's got a lot of work to do. I see Hyro, right? Hyro's over here dick riding Terrence Crawford. Now, let me tell you something about Hyro. Hyro was never no Terrence Crawford fan. Hyro was a Terrence Crawford hater, and he used to flap his gums for years and dick ride Errol Spence. But then he saw the truth when Errol Spence got violated as the C class fighter he is, you know, in comparison to Crawford. I mean, he's not a C class fighter, but in comparison to Crawford, he was always a C class fighter. Good fighter when he fights everybody else, not on that level when it came to Crawford. I knew that for years. I told him that for years. He refused to listen. Now he wants to dick ride Terrence Crawford because he likes to use him to downplay Inoue, right? And the reality is they're around the same level. Inoue and Crawford are on the same level. They've been pound for pound on the pound for pound list the same amount of time. They won the world title damn near around the same month in the same year. So they both got work to do to separate themselves. But Hyro ain't no Terrence Crawford fan. He likes to use Terrence Crawford to downplay Inoue. Man, I was surprised a Euro beat Hostess paid it made him look bad. Will a Euro upset Oscar Valdez? He's been going on the hill since Canelo team. The grass is not always greener. Well, Australians don't count as Europeans? I don't think they do. I could be wrong, but listen, the Australians are tough. I feel like Australian boxing is in a golden age right now. You look at like what's happened these last couple of years with George Kambosos Jr., all the fighters they got there, the Maloney brothers, Scott Nicholson, Jairo Patayo, the best cruiserweight in the world. Like, they're really doing their thing. They're really doing their thing over there, Australia. I personally think that Liam Wilson will beat Oscar Valdez. I think Oscar just doesn't have a lot in the tank. But it would be a great win if he can get it. You know I like that David Navanishian fight. I picked Car BT. I told you I had to. No, fuck that. Fuck that, Hyro. You and Shakur for years. Listen, don't make me go to my archives, Hyro. I'll expose you. You and Shakur got on here and you were talking that Errol Spence bullshit. And then when the fight got signed, then you realized the realities of what was about to happen to Errol Spence. Then you wanted to switch. But you didn't believe in Terrence Crawford. You know, you hated Terrence Crawford because he was with Top Rank. You were okay with Errol Spence ducking Terrence Crawford for those years, you know? And then Terrence had to violate him and snap you back to reality. So now you want to use Terrence to downplay Inoue. But the reality is you were never really a Terrence fan like that. Because you would always say, I remember, Hyro, I got a long memory. You used to say all the time, how do you know Terrence is great? How do you know Terrence is great if he hasn't fought anybody as good as Errol Spence? I'm like, Hyro, because I know what I'm watching. Sometimes I don't know what I'm watching, but when it came to Terrence Crawford, I knew what I was watching, you know? It's a good thing you mentioned that because Inoue is the second considered Asian great behind Pacquiao, but he ain't be the quality type opponents like Pacquiao did to get real greatness. Now, there's a couple fighters from Japan that I'm not gonna lie to you, I gotta do my research on them. Based on once I research them and like really dig into their careers. I don't know if Inoue's even surpassed these guys, but like you got Japanese fighters like Fighting Harada, Yoko Goishin. These guys are in the Hall of Fame. Like I was at the International Boxing Hall of Fame. They have plaques there. They're legit all-time great fighters, you know, Hall of Fame fighters. I'm not even sure if Inoue passed them yet. So forget Pacquiao, he didn't even pass them guys yet. We don't even know. I don't even know. I gotta see where he stands amongst the Fighting Haradas and the Yoko Goishin. I'm probably even saying his name wrong, but Yoko Goishin, the guy, the Japanese dude with the afro that had like a truckload of title defenses, him. And it's not hate. A lot of the Inoue fanboys, they may see it as hate, you know, because anytime you don't say Inoue is God, they think you're hating on him. But I'm just being objective as the American leader in Inoue boxing coverage in the States. Hito Watanabe was another. Yeah, I've heard of him. Okay, shout out to him. I didn't know Japan had heavyweights. DB Boxing, what's good, champ? Good to see you. Hope all is well. Crawford only has two good wins, Gamboa and Postal. It's the sad truth. I give him half credit for Spence, but Spence's resume isn't great either. Yeah, I like to me. Shit. Anybody who's talked to me knows what I think about the Postal fight. I've always had Victor Postal as his best win. And shit, after seeing how overmatched Errol Spence was, it still might be his best win. No, Hyro. He started acting like a freaking prick diva, and that's what I call him out. I call him out as such because now he doesn't want to give Boots the same opportunity that was given to him. So no, fuck that bullshit. I call a spade a spade. Terrence Crawford is one of my favorite fighters. Don't tell me no bullshit about, oh, you don't like Terrence Crawford. Listen, man, when I was, what year was that? 2016. When I was 21 years old, and I had my little job making pizzas at Antonio's Pizza on East Dania Beach Boulevard, and I didn't have a car, and I didn't have two nickels rubbed together. Guess what? I ran from my job at night after getting off work. I ran from my job from one side of Dania Beach to the other side of Dania Beach where I lived, just to get back home in time to watch which fight of Terrence Crawford? Terrence Crawford versus Thierry Jean at HBO. So until you have that level of dedication to support the man's career, don't tell me about, like, I'm not no Terrence Crawford fan. The first time I ever went to New York, I went to cover Terrence Crawford versus Hank Lundy. Don't tell me about Terrence Crawford. Tired of that bullshit. Just because I call out double standards. I'm not the same because he's not the same. I'm on what he's on. Boxing Liberia has, in a way, over fighting Harada now. I disagree, but whatever. I don't got an opinion on that because, like I said, I know who fighting Harada is. I've heard a lot about him over the years, but I never really took time for myself to dig into his career. BT, what is your top 5 pound for pound right now? That's easy. In no order. In no order though. So this is not in order, but Inoue, Crawford, Bivol, Beterbiev, Usyk. Simple as that. Those are your 5. You can't go on any of those 5. Those are the only 5 that deserve to be in the top 5. That's it. That's the definitive top 5 right there. I bash Crawford hard because he's wasted talent. I'm not doing it in order, man. I'm not doing it in order. I'm too tired for that. but they no order. That's what I got. Then after Beterbiev destroys Bivol, he better vacate and fight his IBF mandatory. He might actually just do what Crawford refuses to do, which is actually move up and weight and get right to it. Not sit around for a year and get your hair braided and not do shit. Like actually really go do something. I bash Crawford hard because he wasted his talent. People overrate him, but he never really fought the best when he had the chance. That's not a crazy it's not a crazy assessment. I mean, I do think there was a time where he was being frozen out of the big fights from PBC, but again, when he got into that power, because look, he waited all this time to get into this power position to fight the best. He gets there when he fights Errol Spence just to act like Errol Spence. I mean, ain't that sad? Ain't that horrible? You go through all these fights, you win all these titles, you put on all these great performances, you get all these knockouts. You criticize this guy all these years for ducking you, just to act like him when you get to the position he was in. That's what happened. He's acting like Errol Spence. Why is it hard to go in order? Because I just don't want to right now. I mean, let me see. We'll go with Bivol at 5. We'll go Beterbiev at 4. We'll go Usyk at 3. I'll go Inoue at 2. And I'll go Crawford just slightly ahead at 1. So there you go. There's your pound for pound list. Who is Justin Gamber? Justin Gamber used to train Caleb Plant, and I seen Justin Gamber a couple of times when I was out in Vegas. Seen him like 3 or 4 times, and we actually exchanged numbers. I was supposed to hit him up. Good guy, cool guy. But he trained Caleb Plant, worked with a lot of fighters in the gym, but just most renowned for his time with Caleb Plant and helping him guide him to the IBF title. So yeah, that's Justin Gamber. But guys, look, on that note, we're gonna hit the hour mark. I'm very tired. Just want to come on here and keep the streak going. Listen, I'll be in Arizona tomorrow night. I will be at the weigh-in for Friday. No, Thursday, and I'll be at the fight on Friday. So listen, guys, stay tuned for all the content here on True School Sports. Definitely support Pops. Pops is gonna be live Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So he'll be holding it down on the lives, and then I'll be back Sunday, and we'll go ahead and get back to it on Sunday with the lives. But Pops, hold it down. Support him. Stay good. Stay blessed. Keep working hard in your guys' lives as I'm working hard on mine to be the best I can be. And yeah, like I say in every single one of these videos, you can love me or you can hate me, but I'm just a kid from Daniel. So until next time, take care.